Hi, my name is Colleen Shepard. I'm the Community Outreach Director here at Purdue Federal Credit Union. So my role here at the credit union is to focus on getting out into the community, working with non-for-profits and the different schools, helping their clients and their staff build a better financial future for themselves. This is my coworker.
I'm Molly Milseric. I'm here with Purdue Federal Credit Union as a community relations specialist, and what I do is work with youth and college students so that we can help build a great financial foundation. Over the years, we've noticed a change in habits where students are being introduced to checking accounts, savings options, and building credit at a younger age. So we know these next several months are critical. And thank you so much for joining us as we help today share helpful tips and Purdue Federal products that you could use to help your student build a solid financial foundation before they navigate a new stage in their life beyond graduation. So today, Colleen, we're going to talk about the importance of budgeting. So starting a budget as a student is a wise step towards financial responsibility. So what are some tips, or how do you suggest that we start a budgeting conversation with students?
Good question, Molly. Yes, this is a difficult topic to start with our students. The first step is to have the money talk, right? So discuss the finances with the people that are involved, right? So all the parents, grandparents, if that's the situation, and kind of discuss what the expectations are there. The main topics that you're going to want to cover is who's paying for college, is there scholarships involved, what's coming out of pocket, expected expenses outside of tuition, right? So there's lots of those, transportation, supplies, FAFSA, right? If we haven't applied for that, are we getting that process started? And then basic ground rules for when they establish that first credit card to have on campus.
Yes, and don't forget to anticipate for additional expenses. So
absolutely.
Beyond tuition, we want to consider costs like textbooks, housing, and other essentials. It's a good idea to make a list of likely expenses and maybe agree upon who's going to be paying for it.
Yes, Molly, it is very important for them to track their spending so they can see where they can cut back, where they're overspending. Using different types of budgeting principles, living within your means, or even trying to get to that point where we're living below our means. And just make sure they're really monitoring their spending. We've found that a lot of apps help do this. Some new ones we found that were specific to students are Good Budget and Clio, and they both had free monthly subscriptions, so it wasn't anything crazy expensive for them to use.
That's nice, a good place to start.
Yes.
So remember that budgeting isn't about restricting yourself. It's about making informed choices and building healthy financial habits.
Yes, it is. Lots of people look at budget as like a really strict diet, right? That we have to stick to that no one ever can, right? Because we make it unattainable. So making sure that we're flexible with our budget. It's not something we're going to create one time and never adjust it, right? So it's something we have to kind of always look at and adjust. One thing that we think is very important and helps, especially these younger people establishing their budget, is giving, it's called a zero-sum budget. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it's basically where we're giving every single dollar a job, right? So there's nothing that we're calling leftover or fun money, because that's where we tend to get in trouble. Planning for bigger expenses. Emergency funds are very important to start establishing. Being flexible with our budget. Organized, setting goals. We like to see where people are creating the different types of goals throughout their budget to really help them along with getting that better financial picture.
All right, Colleen, so let's talk about setting SMART goals. So this we will give you today is a very simple example. So we have a student that knows she needs a new laptop. And we know this laptop's going to cost about $2,000, and we have approximately 8 months to save for it. So here's how we can use our SMART acronym goals to determine how we can make that happen. So S is specific. So we know that we need to save $2,000 for a new laptop. The M stands for measurable. So we know that if we save about $250 a month for 8 months, that will be about $2,000. It's attainable because we know that we can work a little bit of overtime. We may be able to cancel a cable service or an extra streaming service that we have just in that time so that we can make up for that extra money. It's realistic because we know that we can take on a little bit extra by canceling some other services. It is extremely realistic to save about $40 to $50 just by doing that per month. And the time frame, 8 months from now, it is very specific. So that is a SMART goal.
Absolutely. And we find that if we don't set our goals by using the acronym of SMART goals, is we tend to set ourselves up for failure, right? We make these big goals that are probably not realistic, and which isn't really helping us achieve what we're going for. So,
right. So what other types of goals do we have?
Yes. So when we like to break our goals down, right? So you have your short-term goals, your intermediate goals, and then your long-term goals. So your short-term goals are going to be more like 6 months to a year. Intermediate goals are going to be 1 to 5 years usually, and then your long-term goals are going to be 5 years plus, right? So like for us, that would be retirement. So when we think about those goals and breaking them down financially, right, and where that money is going to go, when we're looking at our short-term goals, we're putting that in our monthly budget. That's going maybe staying in the checking or a separate savings, but completely liquid, attainable, because those goals are coming up. Then you have your intermediate goals, which we still want those to be liquid and easy accessible. Those are going to go into your savings so they can earn a little bit of interest, right? So we want our money working for us. And then the long-term goals, the 5-year plus, we're looking more at investment type solutions to earn the best interest we can, since that money is going to be sitting there for such a long time.
Okay. So tell us, what are the best ways to start building your emergency savings account for your student?
Yes, very important to do this. One thing that's so important, and we forget about it a lot when we're doing budgets, is paying yourself first, right? So as people, we tend to get paid, we pay our bills, then we have our leftover money, and then what's left of our fund money, we say, oh, I'm going to put that in my savings. And then what usually happens, there's nothing left to put in our savings. So we have to change our mindset, right? So our income comes in, we do our savings contribution first, pay our bills, and then we have our fund money. So we're treating that savings account as a bill, a utility bill, however you want to look at it.
That makes sense.
Yes. So it's out of sight, out of mind, right? The best ways we've found that to do out of sight, out of mind, paying ourselves first, is systematic savings. So where you're setting up transfers, where it does it for you, so you're not holding yourself responsible to go in and do that every payday. Also, payroll direct deposits, you can set those up to go straight to the savings, right? A nice split between checking and savings. Saving your year's raise is another big thing that I wish I would have thought about when I was younger. Every year when you get a raise, taking that percentage and putting it in your savings right away, because you were living just fine before you had that raise.
Right.
So it's trying to use that as an asset.
Good. So how much should my student have in an emergency savings account? So we want to start small, right, with these types of accounts, especially for our students. So we want to aim for around $500 to $1,000 as a starting point. Not that we want them to stop savings when we get there, but this will cover majority of emergencies. So you think about insurance deductibles, right? So if you were in a car accident or medical expenses, usually those deductibles are around $500 to $1,000. So that way you could cover any of those types of emergencies. It's really important though that they continue to build over that $1,000 mark, because a good target to have is 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses. So those are going to be your essentials, right? Food, utilities,
rent, mortgage, things like that, so you have that covered for that length of time. You want to also, with emergency savings, is make sure you have separate accounts, right? So when we're commingling funds, it gets very confusing and we tend to spend money that we shouldn't have when we do that. So making sure we're setting up, you can have multiple savings accounts. It doesn't just have to be one with specific target goals.
You can also consider giving your savings a boost by looking for special account programs. Here at Purdue Federal, we offer an emergency savings account that gives you bonuses as you save towards your emergency savings goal. So we did just throw a lot at you, and there are several steps involved. So if you'd like to continue this process and you need more one-on-one assistance, feel free to connect with Purdue Federal, and you can join us as we meet with one-on-one with one of our financial counselors. So thanks, Colleen.
Thank you, Molly.